Something was pulling Aaron through the water. His mouth opened and bubbles burst out. His legs felt like they were made of rubber. His lungs were almost bursting like balloons. It must be the crocodiles, he thought, feeling something tighten its grip around his waist. He wondered what it would feel like when the beast started chomping on his legs. Painful, yes, he thought it would be painful, and very sore too. The water was icy cold. His mind was becoming blood. Where was Elvin? Where were Mom and Dad? What had happened to that pretty girl Madeline? He told himself there was no point struggling. The crocodiles would have him for dinner and then it would all be over. His head broke the surface of the lake and fresh air exploded into his lungs. He was coughing and spluttering. He couldn't see the crocodile, just a strange, shiny black creature bobbing in the water beside him. "It's okay, kid," the thing said. "You won't drown now." Then he saw another shiny black thing swimming towards him with Madeline. She gave him a weak wave. Suddenly he was being lifted from the water and lowered onto the deck of a boat. Somebody wrapped a blanket around him. The frogman climbed on board and pulled off his mask. "Someone wants to talk to you, kid," he said. Aaron blinked. Mr. Choi was kneeling beside him. "Hello, Aaron," he said. "What have you been up to?" Aaron tried to speak, but water gushed from his mouth and down his front. "Where did those big birds come from?" asked Mr. Choi. "We saw them carrying you over the lake." Aaron shook his head. "Not birds, Mr. Choi," he spluttered. "Butterflies." Mr. Choi smiled patiently. "Aaron, you mustn't make such stories. Those birds we saw were much bigger than butterflies, and no butterfly will ever carry a human being." There was a craft behind him. Mr. Choi looked round to see the frogman holding up the remains of the two giant black and gold butterflies. "We've found them in the water," he said. Mr. Choi stared in shock. "How horrible," he gasped. He swung back to Aaron. "We thought two large birds had taken you," he explained. "That's why we got the boats out. We were worried that the birds might drop you." He placed a hand on Aaron's shoulder. "You've got to tell me what happened." "Will I get into trouble?" Aaron wanted to know. "No, you won't," Mr. Choi shook his head. "Just tell me the truth." "I knew we were being watched," said Aaron, wiping water from his mouth. "It was the butterflies. They attacked us when we followed them into the jungle." "And what about your brother and Christine Lien and Tyron Tan?" asked Mr. Choi. "What happened to them?" "I don't know." Aaron slammed back against the deck. "The butterflies struck us before we could warn the others." Mr. Choi stroked his chin thoughtfully. He said something to the frogman, then turned back to Aaron. "We're going to call the police, and then we're going for a little ride." "Where?" Aaron asked him. "To the butterfly farm." Mr. Choi got to his feet. "I think we'll find our answers there," and his face paled. "I just hope we're in time."